She wanted an open marriage. The words didn't come with warning, no build-up, no hesitation. Just dropped out of her mouth one night over dinner as if they meant nothing, as if she were suggesting we repaint the living room or take a weekend trip. We had been sitting in silence, the steady hum of the refrigerator filling the empty space between us, when she finally broke it with a single sentence. "I think we should try an open marriage." At first, I laughed. Not a full laugh, more of a sharp, disbelieving chuckle, the kind you give when someone makes a tasteless joke. But when I looked up at her, the seriousness in her eyes cut through me. There was no hint of humor, no trace of testing the waters. She meant it. And in that moment, something inside me cracked, quietly, but irreparably. We had been married almost 10 years. Nearly a decade of building something together. A home, routines, memories layered one on top of the other until they became our life. And now she was asking me to share her with strangers, to reduce myself from husband to roommate, a background character in my own marriage. My chest tightened, and the words spilled out of me before I could stop them. Why? Was I not enough? Had I failed her somehow? I searched her face for an explanation, a lifeline, something to hold on to. She shook her head and said, "It's not about you. I just want freedom." Freedom. That single word lodged in my mind like a shard of glass. She called it freedom, I heard it as rejection. The days that followed were brutal. She began going out more, armed with vague explanations, girls' night, work dinner, retreat. The excuses grew thinner, but she didn't care enough to make them convincing. She came home at odd hours, carrying with her the faint scent of perfume that wasn't hers, cologne that wasn't mine. And me? I tried to survive by burying myself in work, pretending not to notice. Pretending kept it from being real. If I didn't acknowledge it, maybe I wouldn't have to face the truth, that the woman I loved had already left me in every way that mattered. That's when Mark, my best friend, stepped in. He watched me unravel quietly for weeks until one night he finally said, "You can't just sit here and rot. She's out there living her life. You should live yours." I told him I didn't know where to begin. The idea of starting over at my age, with my heart in pieces, felt impossible. Mark smirked in that way only he could and said, "Don't worry. I set you up on a blind date." At first, I resisted. It felt wrong. My marriage was crumbling, my wife was still technically my wife, and here I was being asked to act as if I were free. But Mark was relentless, and eventually, against every instinct, I gave in. He handed me the time and place, and with more dread than hope, I went. The restaurant was lively, filled with chatter and clinking glasses, but I felt out of place, like an imposter wearing someone else's skin. I was nervous, bitter, carrying the weight of betrayal on my shoulders. Then she walked in. Claire. She had dark hair, calm eyes that seemed to steady me without trying, and a presence that was quiet but grounding. She didn't walk in trying to command attention, she simply was. When she smiled, it wasn't forced, it was warm, natural, real. We ordered drinks, started talking, and for the first time in months, I felt myself let out a laugh. Not the hollow, automatic kind I'd been giving people to mask the emptiness. A real laugh. She asked me about my life, my work, my hobbies. When the conversation turned toward my marriage, I told her the truth, that my wife wanted an open marriage, that I felt like I was unraveling, that I didn't know who I was anymore. I braced for pity, for awkward silence, but instead she simply said, "That must hurt, but it says more about her than it does about you." Those words struck me harder than she probably realized. For so long, I had carried the weight of blame, convinced that somehow I hadn't been enough. Halfway through dinner, Claire leaned back, studied me for a moment, and said quietly, "I probably shouldn't tell you this on a first date, but I'm her sister." My world stopped. My heart stuttered, my mind scrambled. I thought I had misheard, but she repeated it just as calmly. She was my wife's sister. I wanted to stand, to walk away before it could get worse, but Claire reached across the table, gently touched my hand, and said, "I'm not here for drama. I just wanted to meet the man my sister is throwing away." Her voice had no malice, no hidden agenda, just sincerity. And that sincerity anchored me to my seat. After dinner, we walked through the city streets. The night was cool, and with every step, words spilled more easily. We talked about our childhoods, our dreams, our regrets. She confessed she was disappointed in her sister, that she had watched her spiral and couldn't make sense of it. I confessed things I hadn't told anyone, not even Mark. My fear of abandonment. The shame of feeling inadequate. The anger I carried like a weight on my chest every day. And she listened. Really listened. No judgment, no interruptions, just presence. Lines blurred that night. Feelings stirred, but it wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about betraying my wife in return. It was about connection. Two people wounded by the same person, finding solace in each other's understanding. Did guilt creep in? Of course. Every time I looked at her, I saw fragments of my wife. But alongside that, I saw something I hadn't felt for my wife in years: understanding, respect, and care. When I finally drove home, I sat in my car for almost an hour, staring at the dark windows of the house I no longer recognized as a home. That night I knew. My marriage was already over. In the weeks that followed, Claire and I stayed in touch. Coffee meetings, long walks, quiet moments where she reminded me that I wasn't invisible, that I was still someone worth being seen. My wife noticed my distance, of course. The irony wasn't lost on me when she accused me of cheating. She screamed, cried, twisted the narrative until I was the villain. But by then, I was calm. I had already detached. The day I told her I wanted a divorce, she spat out the accusation, "You're leaving me for someone else." I shook my head. "I'm leaving because you left me a long time ago. You just didn't admit it until now." Her face crumbled, but I didn't stay to watch. Claire wasn't the reason I left. She was the reason I remembered I had the strength to. Looking back, the irony is clear. My wife wanted an open marriage. She wanted freedom. But in her selfishness, she opened a door I hadn't dared to imagine, that someone else could see me, value me, even briefly, for who I really was. She wanted freedom. I gave it to her, not by agreeing to her terms, but by walking away. In the end, betrayal didn't destroy me. It revealed the truth. It showed me that love without loyalty isn't love at all. It reminded me that I was worth more than being someone's backup plan. She thought she was gaining freedom. What she really gave me was the chance to start over, and the proof that I was never the problem.